If Max Verstappen wakes up tomorrow, picks up his phone, calls Toto Wolff and says, "Toto, I want to drive for Mercedes in 2027. What happens?" Because the real answer is not simple. It is not, "Yes, come over." It is not, "No, there's no seat." It is much messier. Because if Max goes in, somebody comes out. There is no third car. There is no painless solution. There is no version of this story where everybody walks away happy. Someone gets sacrificed. The only question is who. And before we answer that, we need to understand where Formula One actually is right now, because without that context, the whole discussion falls apart. Go back to 2024 for a second. Toto Wolff was in full damage control mode. Lewis Hamilton had just announced he was leaving for Ferrari, and that hit Mercedes hard. Not just on track, symbolically too. Mercedes needed a name, a statement, somebody who could walk into that team and instantly tell the paddock, the sponsors, and the drivers' market that Mercedes was still Mercedes. And that is when Verstappen became an obsession. Every interview, every little hint, every public flirtation. Toto was not exactly subtle about it. Back then, Max was not just an option. He was Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. But Formula One moves fast, and the world turned again. Then came 2026. New regulations, a new power unit era, much more emphasis on the hybrid system, active aero, a completely different driving and engineering philosophy. And Mercedes nailed it. The W17 did not just arrive as a good car. It arrived like a car that understood the rules before everyone else did. Russell won in Australia with authority. Antonelli went to China and won at 19. 19! In the first year of a major regulation reset, on a difficult circuit, under huge pressure. And maybe the most impressive part is this. The car does not look vicious to drive. It does not look like one of those knife-edge rockets that only works if the driver is willing to live on the limit every lap. It looks complete, fast on the straights, efficient electrically, stable, predictable, usable. Now compare that to Red Bull. Because right now, Red Bull looks like the opposite of what it used to be. What they have given Verstappen in this new era looks, at times, fundamentally out of sync with the rules. Not just a little behind, not just missing a few tenths. It looks like a package with structural problems. Power clipping on the straights. No front end in one corner, no traction in the next. A car that never seems to stay in the window long enough to let the driver lean on it. Toto himself said after qualifying in Shanghai that watching Max's onboard was like watching a horror movie. And the cruelest part is this. This is not a driver problem. Max still looks like Max. The speed is still there. The instinct is still there. The violence of execution is still there. But even a driver like Verstappen has a limit. There comes a point where talent stops covering the holes in the machinery, and Red Bull may be there already. So that is the board right now. Mercedes look dominant, Red Bull look compromised, and one of the greatest drivers the sport has ever seen may be trapped inside a project that is drifting in the wrong direction, which naturally leads to the question: if Max wants out, does Mercedes open the door? In my view, yes. But not in the same way they would have in 2024. In 2024, that would have been desperation, a rescue move, a please save us decision. In 2027, it would be strategic, because there is one rule that every top team understands. You do not let the best driver of his generation fall into someone else's hands. That is basic survival. Verstappen is not just fast, he is an asset. If you sign him, you strengthen yourself and weaken the entire field at the same time. That matters a lot, but then reality hits. If Max comes in, somebody has to go, and that is where this gets fascinating to analyze and brutal to live through. Because Mercedes do not have one easy expendable name. They have George Russell and Kimi Antonelli, two very different drivers, at two very different stages, with two very different meanings inside the team. Start with Russell. George is seriously good. Anyone paying attention knows that. He has outperformed weak cars before. He survived difficult seasons at Mercedes without losing his head. He is fast, composed, politically intelligent, and far more complete than some people want to admit. And this start to 2026 matters, because right now he looks mature. He looks settled. He looks like a driver who understands that titles are not won by noise, they are won by precision. But there is one cold-blooded problem for Russell in this decision. He is not the project. He is the driver Mercedes signed. A very good one, a very serious one, but still, signed. Antonelli is different. Antonelli is not just a driver in the team. He is part of the team's future architect. He is Toto Wolff's long-term bet. The heir, if you want to put it bluntly. And there is a massive difference between hiring a driver and building one. Mercedes have been building Antonelli. They shaped him through the academy, protected him, prepared him, then dropped him into one of the hardest regulation shifts in modern F1, with huge expectations on his shoulders, and he went to China and won at 19. So, when you ask who loses the seat if Max arrives, the answer is not just about who is quicker on a random Sunday. It is about value, timing, leverage, and what Mercedes believe their next 5 years should look. To me, there are two main scenarios. Scenario 1, Antonelli fully explodes in 2026. Imagine the second half of the season goes exactly the way Mercedes dream it can. He cleans up the messy starts. He stops overdriving the hot moments. He turns raw pace into repeatable results. He stacks podiums, then wins, then maybe even fights for the title deep into the year. If that happens, the picture becomes brutally. There is no serious world where Mercedes dumps Antonelli, keeps Russell and brings in Verstappen. No chance. In that version of the story, Russell is the one in danger. The lineup becomes Verstappen and Antonelli, the established monster and the future monster. And Mercedes walk into 2027 with the most terrifying driver pairing on the grid. Would that create internal war? Absolutely. Would it also give Mercedes absurd upside? Yes. And that is the point. This is not about Russell being bad. He is not. This is about what makes the most long-term sense for a team thinking like a dynasty. And in that scenario, George may simply be the odd man out. Now scenario 2. Antonelli fluctuates, Russell takes control. Because this season is long, and rookie seasons punish you, especially at the front. Antonelli is still very young. Mistakes will happen. That is normal. If he starts throwing away qualifying positions, if he gets messy in wheel-to-wheel moments, if he leaves points on the table while Russell keeps cashing in big results, then the entire balance changes. At that point, Russell stops looking like the very good driver you could replace. He starts looking like the man delivering the title while the prodigy is still unfinished, and that changes his value massively. In that case, I do not think Mercedes would necessarily throw Antonelli away. That would be too crude, too wasteful, too short-sighted. A smarter move may be to protect him, take one step back, move him somewhere with less pressure, give him more mileage, let him develop away from the title furnace for a while. And then, yes, you could imagine a 2027 lineup of Verstappen and Russell, two hardened race winners, two drivers who know exactly how to execute a championship campaign, and Antonelli develops without being forced to become world champion at 20. Those are, to me, the two most realistic Mercedes scenarios. Both are logical, both are ruthless, and both end with somebody getting hurt. But there is a third variable here, and honestly, it may be the most important one of all. Max Verstappen himself may just stop wanting to play this game. And no, I do not think that is dramatic. Look at the type of driver Max is. He is not built to hang around for the sake of hanging around. He is not the kind of driver who enjoys just filling out the grid while a team figures itself out over 2 or 3 years. He loves competing. He loves domination. He loves having a car that lets him weaponize his talent. But he has also made it pretty clear, in different ways over the years, that his patience for politics, bureaucracy, and badly behaved machinery is not infinite. And this new era matters. This regulation set asks for constant energy management. It asks for compromise. It asks for a driving style built around control, conservation, and system handling as much as raw attack. That is not necessarily the kind of Formula One Max enjoys the most. Max wants to unleash the car. He wants to beat you because he is better than you. This formula often asks the driver to think about every joule, every phase, every limit in the system. Look at his radio in recent races. Look at the body language. Look at the words he chooses when he talks about the direction things are going. There is something different there. Not a driver who has become slow, not a driver who has stopped caring. A driver who may be starting to ask a deeper question. Is this still worth it? And that opens a very real possibility. Mercedes hesitate, Red Bull stay stuck. The car remains a bad fit for this era. And Max simply says, enough, leaves F1, goes GT racing, goes endurance, tries Le Mans. Does the kind of racing that gives him joy without all the political weight and structural nonsense that modern Formula One can bring. I am not saying that is guaranteed. I am saying people underrate it badly. So here is my read on how this may play out. I think Russell has a genuine shot at the title this year. He looks mature, he is in a seriously strong car, and this may be the peak blend of speed and composure we have seen from him. I think Antonelli may finish the season very strongly too. Maybe second, maybe third, maybe not quite there yet, but clearly on the way. And that is exactly why Mercedes may not need to touch anything immediately. If both drivers are delivering, why create a civil war inside your own garage? Why open a wound before you need to? So yes, I still think the most likely outcome is Verstappen staying with Red Bull into 2027. A team switch in the middle of a huge regulation cycle is not simple. You give up years of built-in understanding. You start again in a new environment, a new culture, a new language of engineering. That costs time, and Max knows that. But there is another truth sitting right beside it. If Red Bull keep giving him a car that looks lost in this rule set, then the bigger threat may not be Mercedes stealing him. The bigger threat may be Formula One losing him. Because in the end, this driver market may not be decided by contracts, or money, or even Toto Wolff's ambition. It may be decided by one much simpler question. When 2027 arrives, will Max Verstappen still want to play this game at all? So let me throw it to you. If Verstappen knocks on Mercedes' door tomorrow, who loses the seat first? Russell or Antonelli?